Hello there and welcome to episode 7 of my TEW 2020 save from then to now, where we take WWF from 1992 and we attempt to make it as close to the modern day as we can before whatever new game comes out. We've got another episode of Superstars. Here is Friday week 2 of February. Last week's Superstars was pretty good with two big matches, HBK vs Sid Justice and Bret Hart vs Ted Dibiase, so really focusing on those superstars who become the founding fathers of the new generation era and beyond. Those sort of pivotal stars for the mid to late 90s. Whereas a lot of our matches so far have been very much on those early 90s stars. And that theme is kind of going to continue on the road to WrestleMania. I know pretty much what my WrestleMania card is by now, which is impressive considering it's 6 weeks away. But let's get into the show. So where are we today? We're in the Memphis Pyramid in Memphis, Tennessee. I don't expect us to sell this out, but it is a damn hotbed, so it should boost our ratings, and we're expecting 14,000 fans. We sold out last week, so we're going for somewhere bigger, not expecting to sell out this time. Should be quite fun though. Let's see what happens on this show. And our broadcast begins with a Jack Tunney, broadcast I guess. Jack Tunney is sitting there in his room as he tends to do, and he announces that a number one contender will be found for Ric Flair's world title at WrestleMania. To find this contender, we are going to have 4 men battle it out to become the number one contender. Now, the original 4 men has already changed, because I fully intended on having, Jack Tunney fully intended on having Sid Justice in this tournament as the final runner-up from the Royal Rumble. Seems sensible, right? But then he lost last week to Shawn Michaels. So as such, the 4 men in this tournament will be Shawn Michaels, Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, and The Undertaker. Those matches will take place starting in a couple of weeks, 1 match each week. It will be Shawn Michaels versus Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage versus The Undertaker in the semi-finals on week 4 of February and week 1 of March. Then on week 2 of March, it's going to be the winner of those 2 semi-finals facing off, and the winner of that match goes to WrestleMania to main event against Ric Flair. Gets a 54 rating. It's just a simple. I didn't put any of the guys in it on rating or anything, which I probably should have. I don't know, I just felt that was a bit too cheesing it a bit too much. But a 54 isn't too bad. First match of the night sees the British Bulldog beat the Repo Man with a running power slam. Gets a 64, which is better than either of their performances. Always nice to get that sort of match. 63 for Bulldogs, 51 for Repo Man. I don't really know what to do with Repo Man. We probably put him and Crush together and just do Demolition, because I don't really have any plans for them as singles guys. So 64 though, not too bad. We move on to Jim Neidhart and Owen Hart, and they're chatting and they're challenging Money Inc. for a tag team title shot next week. Saying that they feel like they've earned a title shot now because they beat him in a 6-man tag. So why shouldn't they get a shot? 54 rating. It is, again, it's just planting those little seeds for where we're going into the future. Well, this match is next week. Well, kind of. 54 rating. Bob Bradley takes on Marty Jannetty. Jannetty picks up the win. It's a short match, but it's just a basic TV match. It goes a few minutes, ad break, comes back, goes a couple more minutes, the recognisable name wins. Nothing to really shout home about, except that they actually have pretty good chemistry, which still doesn't get Marty Jannetty above 50. He gets a 48, which is very worrying, although, if we're being honest, I have no intention of pushing Marty Jannetty in the next 20 years. 48 rating, no. Tag team match as one of the teams who are fighting to try and become number one contenders, the Natural Disasters, take on a jobber team of Jim Powers and Brian Costello. It is the Natural Powers who are the stars of the show here, 64 and 53 compared to both in the 30s for the jobbers. A 54 overall, which is great chemistry for Typhoon and Earthquake, but Typhoon was off his game, which is disappointing, but he's still miles better than a lot of the people we've had on the show. He's still better than Marty Jannetty, which I know shouldn't be the benchmark because Jannetty's awful, but kind of is. 54 rating. Tatanka defeats Barry Horowitz with the Indian Death Drop. Again, it's that sort of TV match. No real stakes, nothing really to play for. Tatanka gets a good win. 51 overall, so it actually is again better than the actual performances. So good for these two guys. Actually, to be fair, Barry Horowitz getting a 48 surprises me because, you know, he is a jobber. So for him to be on the level of Tatanka and better than quite a few of the other people we've seen, that is food for thought. Roddy Piper comes out and he wants Shawn Michaels' spot in the tournament. He's like, Shawn Michaels does not belong to be in this tournament. He is an arrogant young prick, and there is nothing he has done. He beat Sid once. Okay, if you want that, why I've beaten Sid before. Everyone, it's Sid. I don't actually know if Roddy Piper has beaten Sid before, but he's going to claim he has. But Roddy Piper comes out saying, and this brings out Shawn Michaels with Sherry, and he basically says, okay, you think I haven't earned this? You think I don't deserve this? Nah, I'm just better than you. And you know it. So next week, if you want my shot, come and take it from me. But just know, you don't stand a chance, old man. Shawn Michaels lays down the challenge that next week he will be putting his spot in the tournament on the line against Roddy Piper. Gets an 83 rating, so pretty good stuff. Randy Savage gets a squash match against Kato. Gets a 95 for Savage, or a 43 for Kato. Randy Savage drags that match up to a 70. Savage getting a 95 is very, very tasty, to be honest. Does make me think, oh, maybe Savage is the person who should win this tournament, and we do run the real life WWF title match, but in the main event. Because it is an option, he's in the tournament. I mean, let me know what you guys think. You know, the 4 or now 5 people who could potentially be the challenger. Who would you put there? Shawn Michaels or Roddy Piper? Hulk Hogan, get that dream match. The Undertaker, it's very early in the streak, but he still is undefeated at WrestleMania in his one match. Or Randy Savage. Let me know in the comments down below. Who would you book to face Ric Flair? We then get the Natural Disasters and the Nasty Boys, both in a segment together with Jimmy Hart. And they're basically saying, why are we so far down the pecking order for these tag titles? The New Foundation are getting a shot next week. Why could that not have been us? Why are we not going for these titles? Why? Like the Legion of... Why are we not getting to face the Legion of Doom on big shows? And Jimmy Hart doesn't have an answer. He's just stuttering like, yeah. Very high, as Jimmy Hart always is. Well, high voice at least. I don't know if he's not the other high. But yeah, so it is very much a case of Jimmy Hart's clients are starting to lose trust in him. And the semi-main event sees Jake the Snake Roberts defeat Owen Hart with the DDT. It's a 73 for Jake, 48 for Owen. Same as Marty Jannetty. That should not have been as much of an insult as it was. But 67 is pretty good stuff, and it's building the story between Jake and Bret. Jake laid out the challenge to Bret, and this week he's beating his brother. And after the match, well, this is Jake Roberts. He's not just going to be happy with winning, is he? He starts beating down Owen Hart, DDTing him again, and then DDTs him on the outside. At this time, groundbreaking spot. We know what it looks like now, but we've got to remember we're back in 1992. Owen Hart gets stretched out after Bret comes to make the save, which of course puts questions about next week's tag title match. Questions which Jimmy Hart might be praying he could answer. So that's what I mean, it's all interconnected. This sort of mid-card picture, the tag titles and the IC titles are all, and well, the surrounding stuff around each title, they're all interwoven into making this one living universe. Which is one thing I love about wrestling companies, is when things don't feel disjointed. It's one of the things I hated about the later days of Inch years in WWE. People felt like that once they were in their story, that was it. Other people didn't exist. They would never interact with anyone else. And things which happened in one storyline wouldn't affect anything else. That is not something I want to happen in my WWF and eventually E. I want these stories to feel connected. That if something happens, it has ripples and creates a tidal wave. 100 rating though, pretty good. It's a great little angle. And the main event match sees Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair team up to take on Roddy Piper and Hulk Hogan, and Michaels pins Piper. So ahead of their match next week, Shawn Michaels basically is already proving his worth because he pins Roddy Piper to pick up the win with sweet chin music. 96 for Flair, 70 for Hogan and Michaels, and 62 for Piper means he's the weakest person in this match. But Hogan and Piper both got penalties for chemistry, which is now the second person that Hogan has had chemistry issues with, which I find hilarious. But 75 is a great main event rating. I can't remember exactly what all the other main event ratings have been, but you know, it's not going to be long until I think we're starting to get really good scores. So what do we get overall? It's a 77. That's annoying. It does bring us down a little bit, especially in those American regions, which are the most important because we need to stay above 77 in America. Because we can't risk falling down into medium. So that 77 has to be the minimum. Which I thought that was a pretty good show, so for that to get what we need to be our minimum does put a lot of pressure on. So what did you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye!